Morning, this is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Should be a fun show today. I have a friend of mine that's on with me. But before I introduce him, I have some opportunities to get involved. So my first opportunity to go out there and do something is Saturday. There is a taco truck social at the Trinity Community Church. That's at 12168 North Willow. There's essentially a new Christian college. And it's pretty inexpensive. They seem to have a good curriculum. They seem to have good teachers. I think it's worth looking into. You know, if you go to a normal public college, free speech isn't allowed. Indoctrination is a given. Exploring freedom of ideas, you know, traditional ideas are all bad according to them. But the good news is if you send your kid to one of those traditional schools, you have a great chance of them becoming a stellar communist. So I would consider this. Should be a lot of fun. I believe it starts at 10 a.m. And check it out. I will put that in the Facebook show notes. Sunday, we have a medical freedom rally at Blackstone and Nice from 2 to 4. Tuesday, the Kingsburg chapter of Constitutionalists for California is having a meeting at 6:30 p.m. at 15,000 Rose Avenue. Deborah Rush of Breaking the Chains, good gal, good organization, will be speaking. I look forward to going to that one. Thursday night, 8:18, the Clovis chapter of Constitutionalists for California is having a meeting. At this point, we don't have a speaker. We've had some pretty lively discussions lately. The great part is we've left people energized. We've provided a little hope. When you meet with like-minded people and when you focus on some of the positive, you're that much stronger. Stronger in your values, stronger in your beliefs. We have an event which we will be discussing today, 10/1, so October 1st, that is a Saturday. We'll come back to that one. My final event is October 15th, the Dollar Monthly, which is about 6,000 copy subscription of a newspaper based around Kingsburg. It is largely written by Constitutionalists for California members, both Clovis and Kingsburg, and they're having a USO show tribute fundraiser. So fun dinner, there'll be kind of a big band, there'll be a dinner. That is at thedollarmonthly.com, or if you're in Kingsburg, you can go by the Swedish boutique and talk to June, and she will hook you up. I will have more details on that one upcoming. Those are all my chances to get out there and do something, folks. Now, today we're going to be discussing another opportunity to get out, to not be apathetic, to act. And I have somebody that is doing something I think that can turn into something special. So I want to introduce my guest, Ted Laurent.
Hello,
welcome.
Eric.
So
thanks for having me.
Let the cat out of the bag. What are we doing?
Oh,
or what are you doing?
Well, it's a we. It is a we. In fact, when I brought the vision before some friends, you know, like Shelby, who heads Grassroots, and Renee at Mama Bears, they were on it. And they had things happening before I was even ready to start thinking, okay, how are we going to do this?
They're good people.
They're like, this is how we're doing it, and it's getting done, and it's exciting to watch come together because there's a lot to it. But the sales part about it, and the reason why we call it a revival, is because we recognize that in every sector of life, whether it's government or education or entertainment, political, news, media, everything, there's something broken, something badly broken, and needs a revival. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's not just a religious revival. It's not just a spiritual revival. It's a revival of every sector of life, because we need common sense and integrity back in every sector of life. So,
wait, I'm confused. Our president doesn't engender confidence?
Mm.
Our governor, he's a good guy, right?
If you're in his party, sure, he's a great guy. But if you happen to have a little bit of common sense and try to operate in integrity yourself, you realize, no, not so much.
Yeah, I actually think that there's this huge contrast. It's like rules for thee, but not for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I hope that the Republicans, when they regain power, are better than that.
Yeah, we've kind of seen that one before.
Yeah.
Tea Party movements and, Newt Gingrich, Take Back America thing, whatever that was back in the early 90s. And yet we've come to learn, which has been good, with all this stuff that's happened, we've actually had a chance to learn how deep this swamp is and how much establishment Republicans mess things up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about getting Democrats out of party, it's getting rhinos out of it.
Well, I often say to people that while I consider the Democrats to be the problem, I don't know that the Republicans are the solution.
Right.
Some of them are.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of them that actually stand by their values.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't agree with them on all their values, if they even just stood by a set of principles,
yeah,
rather than moisten their finger and put it up to the wind.
Well, therein lies the problem right there. A man has to have principles and operate by them. And when a community does that, when families do that, and the community does that, the nation will.
Which means there's a parable that I just love about a priest that wanted to change the world. And here he is, an old man, and he's mad because he wasn't able to change the world. And he realized if he changed himself, then he had a chance to change his family.
Right. Yeah.
If his family had changed, he had a chance to change his neighborhood. If his neighborhood had changed, he had a chance to change his whole town.
Right.
So look where it starts.
That's exactly where it starts.
So we have to fix local.
Yeah. Even if on the spiritual side, whenever I was preaching revival, the way I was shown is to make a circle, stand in that circle, and concentrate on reviving what's in that circle, like you're saying, like the old priest.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm older than I like to admit. I'm an old priest, realizing I got to change myself. Well, in fact, that's kind of how a lot of this started. You and I first met at a I don't know. What did we meet at the board meeting, or did I meet you at your CFC meeting?
I'm not sure. It's now kind of blurred.
It's kind of blurred, but I went to a Clovis, school board meeting, the first time in my whole life, and I had 6 kids graduate Clovis High, and found myself.
We didn't meet. You met Sean. Sean gave you a card. You came to the meeting.
Might have been in Ratchford too.
Might have been Mark. Okay.
You told me about it. But anyways, that's where it started for me, when I realized I needed to put feet to my prayers, not just asking the Lord to do something. I needed to be involved, and so this is where I am.
Well, I think there's an obligation. It's not just that you hope and pray for something.
Yeah.
I believe there's absolutely a call to action.
Yeah.
And that anybody that thinks that, it's all in the Lord's hands and he'll decide everything and you don't have to act, is kidding themselves.
Greatly. Yeah. In fact, and I've probably shared this with you before too, but one of my favorite historical figures from the Civil War era, all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank. Terrible time. I had him in my mind and everything. It'll come to me. He was a runaway slave.
Frederick Douglass?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for seeing that dumb look in my face. Like, where'd that name go? It was there a minute ago.
Well, he's absolutely a brilliant man.
He taught himself to read and write and became very eloquent at it. But one of the things he shared in his book, his autobiography, was talking about how he prayed for 20 years and saw no change. until he started praying with his feet. And he literally was describing how he got more active, he got engaged, and he's literally known for his involvement in the abolitionist movement.
Not just that, he was also, wasn't he a senator?
Yeah, I think he did end up in politics. I don't remember what position. He's a remarkable figure to review. History is a great thing. Well, too bad we've lost a lot of that, but
man doesn't change very much.
Pretty predictable.
We have the same flaws. We might hope and work and strive for better, but we have the same flaws.
Yes, we do.
And the idea that, and the left seems to embrace this idea that if we just had the right authoritarians in charge, whether it's through communism, socialism, you pick your flavor.
Right.
If we had the right one in charge, utopia would happen. And I would point out that every communist country has failed, that they've largely turned into a dictatorship. And individual freedom, which is the most important thing about this country, is ignored. You no longer have individual rights. We've got an African-American lady from the WNBA that's over there right now, and she complained to her lawyer that, when they arrested her, they didn't read her rights. Well, I think that maybe now she's figured out that when you're not in a country that values individual freedom, that they don't read you your rights. Because they tell you what your rights are, because the rights come from the state.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good observation. And for those who want to take what America stands for granted, like Griner and some of those other athletes that want to take a knee and things like that, as they make their $1 million checks that no other country could ever afford them. It's just silly, ignorant. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and call it ignorant.
Let's hope so. Because if it's willful,
yeah, there's a big difference between stupidity and ignorance, and there's mercy for one of those. Yeah, I'll let everyone figure that one out.
Well, we've definitely, since COVID, or from the beginning of COVID, there was this big push for a cultural shift, the Great Reset, which a whole bunch of people got called conspiracy theorists until certain major World Health Organizations and other major organizations that are filled with billionaires started calling it that. They want an authoritarian government.
Yeah, unfortunately, they always have. I know there's a side of the argument that says that's conspiracy, but what happens when the conspiracies are in fact true? And there is, and it can be looked up. There is an agenda called Agenda 2030. It started with Agenda 21. It's documented.
Now it's upgraded.
Yes, upgraded, and they're trying to put it on the fast track. These are legitimate things, highly documented, well known. It's not a conspiracy. It's hard for a lot of people, especially Americans, who are not used to violence and that abnormal kind of thing in our life. We have this normalcy bias that humanity. There can't be elements of humanity that really are that evil and want to destroy mankind and have this lowered population, and then they're going to control things, and there's going to be the elite, and then there's going to be the extreme poor.
Well, they're using global warming as the excuse for that, as one of the excuses.
One of their excuses, yeah.
What I want to point out is everywhere around the world, they're still building on the coasts. If global warming is really happening and all our coasts are going to disappear and they're all going to be flooded out, why is it that all these billionaires' money, because those are the people that invest in major projects like BlackRock, and the people of BlackRock are part of that Great Reset.
Yes.
Why are they still investing on the coasts everywhere? Not just this country, everywhere, big time. Clearly, they don't believe it. They're just using it as an excuse.
Yeah. unfortunately, but a lot of people are buying it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've told others, because every winter during this global warming time, we seem to have severe storms. The back east, they're logged, locked down for months. Some people are out of power, and I'm thinking, if this global warming gets any worse, a lot of people are going to freeze to death.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interesting side of that. But they keep pushing it's global warming. Well, actually, they think they've changed it to climate change.
Well, of course, because
they
words don't mean things. We have to constantly redefine them so that they work
Right.
best for us.
Unfortunately, there's some of us who remember that in grade school they were actually talking about global freezing because the Earth was going through its winter stage. So then when the Earth starts going through its summer stage, they call it global warming. And interestingly enough, I'll squeeze a Bible verse in here that the scripture says there is a season for everything. So that would include our solar system and our Earth. It's really simple. You don't have to make it rocket science.
No, we definitely don't. So really what that boils down to is we've got one side where largely they're for a deep state.
Yeah.
Government makes all the decisions. Your individual rights don't mean anything. If you disagree with them, then it's hate speech.
Yeah. Or even worse, well, I don't know if it's worse, on the same line, for those in the medical field, if they have a dissenting opinion about COVID or the vaccine or anything like that, they're, especially in California, they're trying to pass laws to make that criminal.
There is one before the assembly right now
Right.
that if a doctor essentially says something that is not the government line, they can lose their license.
I don't know how the regular thinking people aren't seeing 1984 Orwellian life just flashing on the big screen right now. Hello, folks.
Well,
Ministry of Truth.
Yes. And interestingly, it wasn't quite called the Ministry of Truth, but it was assigned to the same responsibilities.
Something like that, huh?
The Disinformation Board.
Right.
You know, with, I can't remember what Scary Poppins' name was, but Scary Poppins fits. If you listen to her sing, you were just like, oh my.
That's Scary Poppins.
That is stolen from Dan Bongino.
Yeah. Funny.
I don't know quite how to battle this, but I want to point out to my liberal friends, the left used to believe in individual freedom. We disagreed after that quite a bit, but they believed in individual freedom. And now if I have a traditional perspective in any way, I need to be shut up. I need to be canceled. And that's sad.
Yeah. Well, isn't that mostly because they've gained, I don't necessarily want to say popularity, but they've certainly gained in numbers. So in numbers, you feel stronger. And when you're stronger, you can start pushing your way. And they've literally become a bully. They're bullying their way in schools, and they're bullying their way in politics. But in the end, Ronald Reagan said it best, our liberal friends are not ignorant. They just know so much that isn't so.
I forgot that quote.
That's a great
I haven't been to the Reagan Museum in years.
Oh, it's a great quote. Off his great speech that he did was supporting, who was he supporting? He wasn't running at that time. He was supporting.
Don't remember.
Yeah, boy. I'm having
See, I wasn't quite old.
fart.
I'm not quite old enough that I got to vote for Reagan.
I did.
Bush Sr. was the first president I got to vote for, and I was paying some attention, but
that seemed like a good thing too at the time.
But keep in mind, I was in high school or junior high while he was president. I remember some of it. I've looked up a lot of quotes, but
Yep. Yeah. Well, me too. We weren't taught this stuff.
Yeah. The problem with controlling the narrative in that way and not allowing people to express individual ideas is it destroys the creativity. We are kind of the breadbasket of the world for creating things.
Have been.
Well, we have been. Now, we don't now manufacture them very much. It tends to then get sent somewhere else. But we're the place where all of these great ideas come up. Well, if you're not allowed to think in a certain way,
right,
you're not allowed to say certain things, then are you really allowed to be creative?
Yeah,
I don't think you are.
No. Right. Unfortunately, that's the way we teach our kids now in public school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we teach them to just get in line. This is what's taught. They're not taught to think on their own, be creative.
No, they're indoctrinated as
Correct.
opposed to taught what.
Correct.
They're taught what to think as opposed to how to think.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break.
Okay.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Want to say thank you to all those people on social media. Hope you like what I'm doing. I'm genuine, whether I'm good or not. I'm genuine, and you know I'm a true believer in many senses, both the conservative cause and with our Savior above. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about current news, what's happening with the FBI, with Mar-a-Lago, and the ignoring by the FBI of other events. So we're going to go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today I am joined by a friend of mine, Ted Laurent, and we're having kind of a general discussion, and then we will get back to the event that he is essentially spearheading. I know you're not doing it on your own. There are multiple groups involved, but we need to find ways to create hope, to diminish apathy, to get people off their butts, to, you know, get them out of that place where they're lethargic. We need an awakening.
Yes, we do.
But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about current news. It's interesting to me that Trump has been in discussions and has handed over personal papers many times, and then suddenly they felt the need to invade his house, break open his safe, go through his wife's room,
and her clothes too, apparently,
and not show us the affidavit and refuse to show his lawyers the affidavit. Now, I'm not talking about all the reasoning behind it, but just the basic, that piece of paper that tells you these are the basic reasons why we're here. They're keeping that sealed. Now, there's definitely some injustice here because we have Hunter Biden on tape doing all kinds of things that are absolutely felonies. And we have all kinds of incredibly shaky, shady things that happened where he got jobs that he got fired from, particularly in Ukraine. He got fired from Burisma as soon as his dad was not vice president. We also have a dad in our president who went and threatened the Ukrainian government when there was an attempt to look into Burisma. You can find that quote. That's not me making anything up.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So
what do you think of this unevenness? The rule of law doesn't seem to apply equally anymore.
No, and it's beyond an uneasy feeling. It's even beyond aggravating, and it's getting to the point of true anger, and you know, having to curb my own mind and ideas and thoughts, because being angry isn't wrong. It's what we do when we're angry that can get us in trouble. So I know we need to channel it, and we need to be active and do things. We need to let our voice be heard, because there is a lot of power in multiple voices. One little voice off in the corner means nothing, but a million voices screaming means another.
Why do you think there's bots on social media?
Exactly.
To amplify the left's position.
Yep, and to silence the right, which is another interesting idea there, that there is a left and a right.
Almost a right and a wrong in my world.
It is. But if you want to say left, that's fine. Whatever. You're just not right. Sorry.
I grew up in a fairly liberal household, but they were traditional liberals, so they believed in free speech. So at least you can have a conversation.
That's good.
How can you have a conversation when your opposition will immediately brand you with whatever vile words.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, there is no conversation with many, and I had these, or attempted to have dialogues with other people, and on occasion you can, and when you have those are golden, and talk, and two human beings can be civil in conversation
and completely disagree.
Correct, and still be friends. Yeah.
But it's rare in today's world.
It's getting rarer.
Yeah,
I just had that experience. It was sad. Watched my wife come home from a time at the gym, who she met her liberal friend, and her liberal friend continued to always want to talk about her liberal stuff, and my wife wanted to talk about good stuff, and one day she just said, "You're a racist." That was it. You're a white supremacist racist. That broke my wife's heart. This was a longtime friend, and that's really where it's going in many cases.
Well, I want to point out that it's largely white liberals that are saying those things.
It was.
And it's largely white liberals that are pushing things like critical race theory. And they're saying that, Martin Luther King and his dream isn't a reality, and that the most important thing about somebody is their race. Now, the interesting part is there's a group of people that agreed with them in our history. You look back, and this group came up, and they were Democrats that came up and arose right after the Civil War. They wore sheets, and they knew all about people because of the color of their skin. They didn't judge them by the content of their character. And today's liberals don't wear sheets, but they seem to know all about people by the content of their character. I think there's a definition for racism that might just fit. I hope you fill in the blanks yourself.
It is a hypocrisy on full display. And it's sad because these are fellow Americans. These are neighbors. These are often relatives, brothers, parents. It can be sad. But that's the world we're living in right now. And what are we going to do? How do we make it better?
Well, I hope that somebody like, it's Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
I hope that when she comes back, she realizes that there are some things that are precious about this country. I'm sure that we'll eventually get her back, and I don't think she'll have to serve 9 years in Russia. But I hope that maybe she realizes there are some things that are special and precious and unique to the American culture.
That would be nice. We can pray.
We can pray and hope.
Right.
But we can't make that happen.
No, that would be nice, though. You never know.
I know that you have a blog and you deal with this theme a lot. Kind of religious freedom versus what I call new religion. And to me, that new religion might be environmentalism, communism, socialism. And if you doubt me, look how they act. They were like the intolerant religious zealots that frankly still exist, but if we look back in history, religion was a lot more extreme. It was not quite as kind and forgiving, would be a good way to put that. And they're filling that not kind, not forgiving. A large part of what makes this country so special is the fact that Christianity got to a point where it was pretty forgiving, that you didn't have to agree with everything. And it allowed for a country, because it's the underpinning of our country, that it had tolerance. The new left, all these isms, don't have tolerance. So I know you have a lot to say. I should shut up.
Yeah, give an evangelist a microphone. You better give him a time limit. Well, the first thing I want to make sure that it's understood, that at least people can see it or begin to see it, is that, like you shared a lot of different isms, that liberalism, progressivism, socialism, Marxism,
authoritarianism,
all those isms, they really come under one umbrella, and it's the spirit of Antichrist, because there isn't a tenet of faith, if you will. There isn't a tenet of belief or any item that they have that they think is a principle that aligns with the Word of God. Not a single one. That it's literally the Antichrist. He's speaking through those isms. And a lot of people will think, well, the Antichrist is going to be some type of anti-religious guy. Yeah, and that's exactly what that is. He's also an alternative to Christ. And that's what they are. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And they're saying, no, we're the way. You live this way. This is the way to do it. And there's no room elsewhere. So there's a conflict in our culture. And we either learn to work together and overcome this, because it's overcomable, or America, as we know it, ends up in the dung heap of empires past. And frankly, on my watch, I'm not ready to stand down. I don't want to stand before the witnesses and those Americans that have gone before us when they look and say, what'd you do? How'd you let that go?
Mm-hmm. Ben Franklin has a quote, and I will get it mostly right. You now have a republic. Can you keep it?
Yeah, can you keep it?
And the other one that's important is a Reagan quote, we're only one generation away from losing our republic.
Yeah.
Does it say republic or our democracy? I don't remember.
Well,
the principle's the same.
Right. And unfortunately, it should say republic, because we're really not a democracy. That's how the left steals things. They redefine words and get that more involved in the narrative, including people on the right will say that all the time. Mm-hmm. And I cringe. It's like, no, not what we are. Our founding fathers were very specific about that. It's not what they wanted. So understanding our history is crucial. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why we see history attacked. That's why there's revisionists out there. Guys like Victor Davis Hanson, who are aging in our culture, but they're absolutely invaluable to us, because he's learned so much and he can provide so much. We need to understand our history better, because it's brilliant and beautiful all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And we are about to lose it. And
in some ways awful, to be honest.
Well,
but I want to point out that every single government has blood on its hands.
Yeah.
And when they talk about, well, the white colonialists, well, in modern history, we were the ones that were the colonialists and awful. But if you go back in history, every group of people treated each other awfully and were much more brutal.
Enslavement was common throughout human history.
Right.
And still.
So, by their terms, then Genghis Khan would be a white supremacist? The most successful conqueror in history?
Yeah, probably.
At least in ancient history.
Mm-hmm. But depending on who you're talking to.
But he wasn't white, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Mongolians are.
They're ethnically Asian and similar to Chinese, but I'm only going to say similar.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I have a couple Mongolian friends and I don't want to be raked over the coals. I'm going to say similar.
They probably appreciate that. Or wouldn't appreciate the other.
They'll let me know I'm certain.
That's funny. At some point, though, like you were talking about, we need to right this ship. Mm-hmm. And it's going to take effort. It's going to take a lot of people. It's what can't happen anymore is sitting at home thinking, well, other people have this. I'm not worried. So-and-so's doing a great job. Just, I don't need to help. Even a water boy is necessary to support a football team. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be the guy out there throwing the ball or making the tackles, but if you can provide water, make sure the guys have towels, that kind of stuff. Every little bit of support is necessary for the making or remaking of this country.
Well, even if you were a fan that went to the trouble of going to the event and supported the event, even that matters.
Even that
I would love more than that.
Correct.
But even that we have a lot of people that are refusing to even do that. Mm. We have a lot of apathy.
too much. That's by design. They dumb us down, drug us down, entertain us till so that we don't care. And if you remember, like myself, when I grew up and I was young, I didn't care about politics. Well, you might have been different.
I did.
Yeah.
I was a weird kid.
You were just born that way. You came out and they said, "Oh, we have a Republican."
We kinda.
Right.
And my dad was definitely a Democrat.
Shocked your Democrat dad, right? Look at the wife. Who are you? No.
No, my mom was fairly liberal, but she was not as invested in politics.
Yeah.
They've both become significantly more conservative and are both definitely Republicans. I'm glad to say I raised them right.
That's good.
I'll be in trouble with my dad for that one.
Right. I would like to say one thing, because we've actually talked on a couple different items here. We talked about current events, and we talked a little bit about history. And there's one more area that's incredibly important so that people could understand the times that we live in. And it's called biblical prophecy. When you have all three working together, or at least you have a working knowledge, basic understanding of all three, you can triangulate where we are in human history. And most of us don't have one or two or even all. They believe the current news they're told. They believe the revisionist history. They don't read the Bible. They don't care. And they're literally blind in what's going on, led to the slaughter. And there are those who are pretty good in some areas, but still need some in other. When you have those three areas working, you can see where we're at. And the biblical prophecy of this time is very profound, and we don't have time to get into that. But it is spoken of, is highlighted. This whole New World Order stuff is not known. It's not new to the Bible, and Bible students, we see it. The handwriting's on the wall, and again, if we don't stand up and at least try to give a fight, then the America we know, the life for our children and our grandchildren is going to be nothing.
Dramatically different. We'll stop being this unique, special nation, which I truly believe we are.
We really are.
We are blessed.
Because of the people in it. The resources that were here that helped, but we had a people that was free to learn to do something with it.
They were free and they were generous.
Correct. We're still the most generous nation on the globe. So that says a lot for being how things are right now.
And not just giving money.
Right.
We are the most generous nation on the globe as far as volunteering.
Correct.
Even our poor often volunteer. Now, there's two groups that don't tend to volunteer or give very much. The ones that are vehemently anti-religious, that they think the fact that the government is taxing people takes care of their portion of charity. And those that are receiving government benefits.
Yeah.
Everybody else in this nation is generally pretty generous. There's a great book called Who Really Cares? I have it in the car. Totally worth reading.
I've heard of it. I don't remember the author.
Well, if you want to borrow it, I'm done.
Sure. Okay.
I was going to give it to somebody. It needs to be passed on because it's
Books
truly profound.
Good. Books need to be passed on.
Yes.
So, how are we doing on time, Chief?
We are down to about 11 minutes.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our break so we have a little more time for the last one.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. When we come back, we contrasted kind of hope and apathy, but we need to be talking about solutions and give me more details and contact information if you have it for your event, things like that. Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today, I am joined by Ted Laurent, and he is spearheading a large event, basically the Great American Revival. And it's going to be here in Fresno County. So, why do this?
Well, it's sort of like breathing. We know the air is bad. We know the smog rolls in. We know that the fires create a lot of smoke in the air, but we still have to breathe. So here we have voting issues in our state that are widely known, and we've seen, yet we still have to vote. We know that our food is poisoned, or the ground is terrible, that stuff falls from the air onto the ground, the nutrients aren't there, but we still have to eat. So our nation's falling apart, and we have to do something about it. We can't stand by and think someone else is going to. We are our own quick reaction force. No one's coming to help. I think Ronald Reagan said that too. Mm-hmm. We are the last bastion of freedom. No one is coming to save us.
Right. And the idea that, and I hear so many people going, Trump is going to save us.
Yeah.
Trump showed a way forward. I see it as my job and every other leader's job to pick up that torch and to run with it, to become a point of light and hope.
Amen. Pick up all the torches. Mm-hmm. We should be a bunch of people with torches and pitchforks, I might add. We gotta do something, right?
And somebody needs to bring the tar and feathers.
Somebody. I think I got some folks that are already thinking that one. We can do it.
So what are some details about your event? When is it?
Okay, so October 1st, that's a Saturday. It's going to be a beautiful day. I've checked the weather.
You prayed about it?
I've been praying about it. Watch, we're going to have a rainstorm like there's no tomorrow. Because we're praying for rain too. So can we just hold off on this day, Lord? Come on.
Give me a few hours. They didn't even have to do the whole day.
It could rain all night. But we have a park, so that'll make it a little bit interesting and challenging to some degrees. But we have a place set up to have a stage and a sound system. We're going to have a band who's on board. They can't wait to play some patriotic songs and really bring some of that love for our country, back to a bunch of people who already like that, because we've seen too much fear in the community, in our nation, in the world, really.
Well, the left is largely branded patriotism as racism.
Yeah.
What a crazy idea. We should laugh that off.
It is.
That should never have been able to take hold.
No, it will be laughed off, I think, in the end, just as much as their monkeypox, scare is trying to do, because that's going to be laughed off.
So it's October 1st.
October 1st.
We have a location.
We do Bicentennial Park. Okay. I think it's called Sierra Bicentennial Park. It's on Sunnyside and Sierra.
So just south of Herndon.
Correct. In Clovis.
Biggest cross streets would probably be Herndon and Clovis Avenue. You're pretty close.
Yeah, you're not too far. Yeah.
Yeah, you're less than a mile away at that point.
Right. Yeah, and real close to the 168, which exits there off of Herndon and Fowler, which both can get you there real easy.
Do you have an email or some way to contact you?
Our contact email is revivalusanow@yahoo.com. Just one word, revivalusanow@yahoo.com.
Okay.
And that's for questions, information, whatever. We have the website. We're actually putting together the Great American Freedom Revival site, but everything's still going to revivalusa.net.
Okay.
So that'll always fill you in too.
Do you have any speakers lined up at this point?
We do. We have the great Rachel Ham.
Love Rachel. And she's got some other events going. But she said, "Hey, I can do it if I can speak early." So I said, "No problem there." Do we have hours?
11 to 4 is what we're slated. We'll see if how the things go. It could end up 5 by the time we're rolling out of there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave earlier than that, but well, I got to get to the Bay Area. But I will definitely be there.
I hope so. We have young Mr. Guillermo Moreno is going to be speaking.
El Grande Queso. That's my boss.
That's good. I'm not even sure what you just said there, but I liked it.
The big cheese.
The big cheese. Very good. We have reached out to some key figures that we may not hear back from them as we're not well known yet or anything, but we went for it. If you remember what Mama Bears was able to do in getting Dr. Peter McCullough out to town, so she basically was reaching out to Victor Davis Hanson and even Kurt Cameron, and I think we're even working on Alan Autry.
I'd say that if Alan's in town, you have a real shot.
Yeah, but that's not a commitment. We have gotten a commitment from Terry Sladek, which I love Terry and want to support him as much as possible, and think he can give us a perspective on the educational side that needs revival. We're going to have a doctor of pharmacy, Diana Laurent, is going to be speaking and covering her sector. That
you checked her out; she'll be okay.
I've checked her out.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a tough one. It was tough getting her on board. And then I will be emceeing, and then share some closing remarks as we bring a call to action. But we're also what I'm really excited about is we're going to have some young people sharing. I've asked some people that I know, and I think the youngest is going to be somewhere 14 or 15, just wanting them to share their concerns, what they see now, and what's the...
So you're going to get them to get up there and speak?
Yes.
Score.
And
you should reach out to Michael Maurer and see if if Gabriel wants to do that.
That's a good idea.
Or I'll reach out for you later today.
Please do. Because I have a certain ages that I want them to share and let adults hear what a young person feels and may be concerned with, and what's the America they want to grow up and see or raise a family in. And I have another young man who's raising a young family, has a little boy, and I want him to share that too. So I think that might end up being the most powerful part of the whole event.
I think the best guest I've had all year was 10 years old, and he happened to bring his dad, Michael Maurer.
Very good. Is that Gabriel?
That's Gabriel.
Oh, very good. Love it. I love Michael Maurer too. So I'm hoping to have.
Would you want him to speak? Should I include that part?
What we haven't, as a group, we've agreed to not let those who are currently running for office speak. Not
that is a slippery slope, so I get it.
It is, and
this is an intergroup, generally conservative, but various types of grassroots groups coming together to run this event.
Yeah, and we're trying to energize people, but voting and getting out to vote is part of that. As we'll probably have election integrity as a group that will be there,
and you should have somebody that has a table that has registration.
That the biggest part of the event is that all the groups are going to have a table, and another section of speaking is going to be a leader from each group, like yourself.
Yeah, unfortunately, it'll probably be me because I seem to be the one that doesn't shut up. And Cindy and Lance point fingers and go, "Oh no, you're doing it."
Right. Well, here's the microphone. They keep handing it to you, right? And then you would get to share what you do, what you're about, where you can be found. And so that everybody there starts to hear from people. These are ways to get involved, because that's part of what we're trying to do.
Is there a flyer that I could post?
There is, that's not been finalized yet.
Okay, as soon as it's finalized, please send it to me.
It's going to be finalized probably even by tomorrow.
So October 1st.
October 1st, yeah.
11 to 4.
11 to 4.
Bicentennial Park in Clovis.
Mm-hmm. Bring a lawn chair and a hat and an umbrella if it's going to rain.
Yeah. We're down to about 45 seconds.
Okay.
Why are you hopeful?
Because the Lord has never let America down. If America turns back to them with their actions, not just their words, their actions, says, I want to get involved and do things right, He will hear from heaven. That's His promise. He's given 2 great awakenings and several revivals, and we're ripe for another one.
We definitely are. Well, I look forward to this event, and I appreciate you coming and joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, this is important. This is an opportunity to get involved. I think that's a wrap. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So that is the Marine Corps anthem.
Yes, it is.
And I played that with my first guest when we renamed it the Constitutionalist, Terry Sladek, in honor of him. And I've thought about other music and just haven't been able to go there.
I love that.
So, for people, again, it is October 1st. That's a Saturday, 11 to 4, Bicentennial Park. Be there.